Andrew Barber-Starkey, welcoming you to the Mastermind series, where every month we learn from the wisdom of leading authors, trainers, and innovators. One of the things I've always wanted to do is interview a sales master, because I believe that everyone, no matter where they are or what they're currently doing, is well served by understanding the principles of the sales process. Well, today is the day. My guest today is Hilton Johnson, one of North America's leading sales trainers. Hilton has been selling for over 40 years and has been a sales trainer for 30 of those years. In that time, he's led thousands of seminars and provided personal coaching to sales professionals from hundreds of different industries, including real estate, insurance sales, and network marketing. He's the founder and president of MLM University, a virtual sales training and coaching organization that works with network marketers. And he's also president of Coach Trainer, a company which trains people how to be professional coaches. Hilton is on the line with me today from his office in Florida. Welcome, Hilton.
Hi, Andrew.
Well, it's so great to have you with us. I mean, I know you a little bit because I've done some courses and training with you in my time as a salesman, but we've got some Success Tracks members out there, and almost all of them at some level or other have something to do with selling and making their businesses go. So I'm hoping we're going to have some really great ideas for them today.
Well, I hope so too, Andrew.
So why don't we start, if it would be okay with you, just a little bit about your background and maybe the journey that led you to where you are as a sales trainer.
I started selling in 1961 doing door-to-door sales, which I did off and on for about 14 years. Don't recommend that, by the way. I was 17 years old at the time, and from there I went into a variety of different sales jobs, selling everything from mobile homes to newspapers, you name it, I think I did it, cookware. But didn't stick with any of those things other than the door-to-door job I did 14 years. And then later I got into real estate, which I was in that business for 12 years. From there I went into the seminar business, training people as a sales trainer. And that led me into doing some training for professional coaches, people like consultants and coaches. And then about 5.5 years ago, the network marketing industry discovered our sales models and thought it would be a good thing for that industry and their companies. So I found myself about 5.5 years ago bringing sales formulas and training programs to the network marketing industry. So that's how it led me to where I am now.
Well, in my introduction, I mentioned that, I believe that everybody sells or would benefit from having sales skills. Do you agree with that, or do you think everybody sells?
Yes, I believe everybody sells to some degree, but I don't believe that everybody can be good at it. I used to think that bring me somebody, I don't care who it is. I used to make this challenge. I say, bring somebody to me, I don't care how lousy they are, how bad they're doing, how unproductive they are. You show me anybody, and I can teach them the formulas for being a good salesperson. I used to believe that. But in reality, that's not true. There are a few people that, in my opinion, just don't have it. But I think most of us, if not all of us, to some degree, do selling, whether you're asking somebody to marry you or you're trying to sell getting your homework up, one of your children, or whether you're selling a major contract. I think all of us are doing selling at one time or the other, but I don't believe that everybody can be great salespeople no matter how hard they try.
Would you also agree with me, though, that training can make a big difference no matter what your natural talent?
I don't really believe you can be, for most of us, unless you're really, really born with a gift, and I've never met anybody like that. I don't think you can really be great at selling unless you do have some training. Training is key.
So I started in sales in, 1983 myself, so I've been at it for a while. And these days people keep talking about the new model of selling and the old model of selling. I mean, people were even talking about it in the 80s. How has selling changed over the years, and where is it today?
Well, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm assuming what they're talking about when you say old model is the canned pitch, the hyped up, enthusiastic type presentation. Years ago, and when I first got in sales, we were taught a canned presentation, exactly word for word how to do it. And we were taught to be excited, to be enthusiastic, to be jumping up and down, and they said enthusiasm's catching. And years ago, that sort of thing would work. Today, professional selling is exactly the opposite. Today, it's more like consulting. It's more like coaching. In fact, I think coaching and selling go hand in hand. We can talk more about that later. Today, it's about asking good questions and building your presentation around the needs of the prospect and getting to know that person and develop a relationship, and then uncovering their needs or problems or issues, and then offering solutions or benefits to that person. So it's turned into from a canned pitch many years ago with a lot of enthusiasm to a more laid-back, professional, consultative type approach today where you ask a lot of questions, listen very carefully, and then if you have a product or service that can help that person, you bring that into the picture as a solution to their needs. I think that's what you're talking about.
Well, and I'm wondering if there's been a change perhaps away from some of the techniques. I mean, I remember when I was learning with Tom Hopkins was one of the very technique-oriented people. He talked about using tie-downs, that is saying things that people basically couldn't get out of either way, or getting a whole lot of small yeses to create momentum, or avoiding certain words that create fear in people, and so on. Controlling them. It seems like over time we've moved away from controlling the customer and more to finding out what their needs are and helping them understand how our product can help them.
Yeah, some of the things that people like Tommy Hopkins taught are still good. Tie downs where everything you're saying with, don't you agree, isn't that right, isn't that so, does that work for you? Those kind of things are still good and used today by professional salespeople, and I recommend them. Some of the other techniques that were bordered on manipulation are actually dangerous to use today. It was also taught back then to use what is called an alternate choice question close, or alternate choice close, where you'd say, do you want red or blue? Do you want to meet with me today or tomorrow? Today, people, especially professional people, have heard that sort of thing so much that if you ask somebody, do you want red or green, they may respond to you by saying, do you want to leave this office on your own power, or do you want me to throw you out, bodily? They may do an alternate choice question close back on you because it smacks of manipulation. So I think that's what you're talking about, Andrew, is that some of those, and it used to be taught also years ago that it takes 7 closes on average before you close somebody. So they'd say no, you come back and you hit them again. They'd say no to that, you come back and hit them again. And that was very even dangerous even back then to do that because you'd end up with somebody really getting mad at you. So those kind of things that smack of manipulation, high pressure, phony techniques, they're out today. I don't know how well they worked even years ago. Maybe when they were first introduced, but today they don't work for the most part.
So, Hilton, I know that one of the programs you offer is called Selling by Attraction, which is really a new way of selling. Tell us about that.
Selling by Attraction is a program that is designed to give a person a formula for giving a structured presentation, not a canned pitch, but a formula, a beginning, a middle, and end, so to speak, step-by-step presentation that is designed to uncover prospects' needs, particularly prospects' problems, because selling is really about helping people solve problems. If somebody doesn't have a problem, then most likely there's not going to be a sale. So the Selling by Attraction program, as versus, say, selling by manipulation or selling by persuasion, is about sitting down with the prospect and uncovering their motivations. What are their problems, their issues, their frustrations, their dissatisfactions? What are their needs? And building your presentation around that person by offering solution and getting the person to talk about those problems to the point that they are emotional about it, because all buying decisions are based on emotion. So if somebody is talking to you and you uncover a motivation, if you can get them talking about it, that will elevate that emotion. And if if you present a benefit to somebody in the Selling by Attraction model, you can expand on that benefit and create emotion by getting them to talk about the benefits of it. So it's an emotional-based, customized presentation built around honoring the prospect's needs and motivations is basically what it is. Yet it is a structured presentation, so you have a guide to go by, but you don't say word for word what you want to say, but you do have a guide to go by, A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order, and you have key questions that you would ask throughout that presentation that make it flow. But it is basically 20% asking questions and 80% listening, and then asking more questions around what you're hearing back from the prospect, and simply uncovering what's important to them, what their needs are, and then asking a few questions to see if what you've got can be the solution. That's what the Selling by Attraction model is all about in a nutshell.
So it sounds like it's a lot more natural, a lot more focused on helping the customer get the solution to their particular issue and having a resolution rather than just convincing them.
Well, the ideal presentation is one where you're sitting down talking to somebody, and it sounds as though you're having a natural conversation, as though you're sitting with them in their home by the fireplace in an easy chair and just having a natural conversation. That's what a good professional presentation is today.
Well, and sometimes in a sales conversation myself, and I'm sure other people can relate to this, I find myself, I'm sort of set on convincing or persuading the person, and I realize that I'm pushing against them and it's not working, and yet, I don't know quite what to do when I catch myself trying to persuade somebody.
Well, let me first of all just say that pushing something on somebody, trying to persuade somebody to do something or buy something, actually will work against you. It'll produce the opposite results because people have a natural tendency to back away when something is being shoved down their throat, so to speak. So that's dangerous to do that. Nobody likes to feel like they're being manipulated. Nobody wants to feel like somebody's trying to control their mind. Nobody wants to feel like somebody's going to talk them into doing something they don't want to do. That's the image of selling, as a matter of fact, old and new. That's the image most people have about people in selling. Nobody wants to feel that way. So the worst thing that you or I or anyone else can do if you're trying to sell something is to try to push it or convince somebody or persuade somebody or to manipulate somebody that this is what they need to do. The attitude really should be, do I have a product or a service or a program that benefits people? And the prospect sitting in front of me or on the telephone right now, I'm going to find out if this program could benefit these people by uncovering their needs. I'm going to find out something about them. I'm going to ask them questions and get to know what their needs are. And if what I have can help them, with their permission, I'll present it to them. But I am absolutely not going to insist that they see it. I'm not going to tell them they're going to like it when I don't know whether they will or not. I'm not going to push my opinions on them. I'm not going to try to sell it. I'm not going to try to present it in such a way that I'm excited about it when I don't know whether or not you're excited about it or not. So pushing something on somebody, trying to convince somebody, is just about the most dangerous thing you can do if you really want to sell somebody. I had a friend one time ask me one time, he said, what's the hardest part of your job, Hilton, and as a sales coach? And I said, the hardest part of my job is that people that are in sales that say they hate manipulative type selling to quit doing it. It's a natural thing to do. So it's understandable that when you know a product or service and you believe in it and you feel like it could be a benefit to whoever you're talking to, that you're going to jazz it up a little bit. You might even exaggerate a little bit. But when you do that, you really shoot yourself in the foot. It's much better to take the attitude, and that's not so easy in the beginning, but it's much better to take the attitude, if you can, that, hey, if these people are good prospects for what I have to offer, I'm going to present it to them in a natural conversational way that they're not going to feel pressured. And if it's not right for them, I'm going to tell them that too, and go on to somebody else where I can feel good about the selling process and not go out there and just try to push it on somebody just to make a sale.
Well, and it strikes me that what I hear you saying is when people feel manipulated or pressured to buy something, it really undermines the trust. And trust and credibility must be, a huge part of the sales process.
Well, people will not do business with people they distrust, let's face it. And that's one of the more critical things about it. It's about relationship building, is building that trust level. You've heard the expression, I'm sure most of your listeners have, that people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust, and that's true. And building trust in a presentation, building trust over a long period of time is what makes selling work over the long haul, especially when you're talking about major sales and big sales. People are not going to spend a large amount of money, make significant commitments to somebody they don't trust.
What are some of the ways that salesmen use, other than pushing, and we already talked about, but what are some other things that salespeople do that do undermine their trust and their relationship with their clients?
They exaggerate what they're talking about. They push their own agenda on people. They're very judgmental. They assume that what they have to offer is good for the person they're talking to. They show this phony, double-dip, glazed-over enthusiasm, thinking that if they're excited, people will pick up on that. That's not how you build trust. You build trust by showing a genuine, sincere interest in the person you're talking to. And you do this by focusing on them and not yourself, by asking questions about them, getting them talking. Everybody likes to talk about themselves. So if you can get a prospect talking about themselves, as long as it's not out in left field somewhere, they will sell themselves. And that's the selling by attraction model. is where they end up doing the talking and they end up doing the selling themselves. You build trust by telling people the truth. You can build incredible trust by saying something negative, if it's the truth, to a prospect that conveys to the prospect that you're being very truthful. Let me see if I can give you an example. Suppose you are a coach or a consultant or maybe somebody in network marketing and you're talking about that if you work with me, I can help make you successful. And the prospect says, well, I don't have a lot of time to put into this. I don't have a lot of time to be learning how to do this. Now, you could come back in order to try to make the sale and say, well, you don't need to have a lot of time. I can work with you in such a way that you can still be successful with my program. It's easy to do. But you would actually gain a lot more credibility and a lot more trust if you would come back and reverse that by saying, if you don't have a lot of time that you can put into this, then your success is going to be in direct proportion to what you put into it. Frankly, if you don't have enough time to make this worthwhile, I would recommend that you not hire me as your coach or be your consultant or work with me in my business, because you would basically just be going backwards if you're getting involved in something that you cannot give it your full attention. So by saying that kind of truth, the prospect is now thinking, wow, this person is honest. This person is not selling this on me. This person's not pushing it. They're telling me, gee, maybe this is not right for me. I like that. I like that I can get the truth out of this person. That's how you build trust and credibility, is when you hear something that is a little red flag, or you hear something that could be an issue, rather than sugarcoat it and sell it in order just to make the sale, come back and put your integrity on the line and tell them what it really is like, and level with them and tell them, and even magnify that so that they can clearly see the negative side of that. So that's, you might call that reverse psychology or negative selling, but it's very, very powerful to come back and tell somebody what they really need to hear if you were their best friend or you were their relative and you were consulting that person. That's why I say coaching and selling go hand in hand. By coaching that person, and rather than selling that person, they'll pick up from you that you are a person of integrity, you're a person to be trusted, you're a person they'll get the truth out of, you won't tell them anything that's bad for them, and when you build that kind of bond, that's hard to beat.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because you talked about the importance of focusing on the customer's needs and listening to what they need and want rather than having your own agenda. And I'm wondering, there's two ways of doing that. One is actually to have a genuine interest and concern for the customer. Another is to go through the motions of doing that as more of a technique and not necessarily, and still be holding on to your own agenda. Could customers tell a difference?
Yes, I think so. People have asked me before, can you sell something that you don't believe in? And the answer is yes. I did myself years ago. Sold things that I was not a big believer. I sold encyclopedias door to door. I never owned a set of encyclopedias until I won a set many, many years later after I was an adult. And I believed in the company and they had a good product basically, but I was not a big believer in that, and I was able to go out and do great selling because I was using techniques. It didn't last forever, and it's not the kind of selling I'd recommend, but just because of the techniques and the presentation itself, yeah, people do it every day. Telemarketers do it every day where they are probably selling something they don't believe in. But I think they're building on sand. I think eventually that's going to crumble. If you want to be good at selling, ideally, you'll do three things. One, you'll believe in the product or service you're selling. Two, you'll learn some techniques. You'll get good training to do that. And three is that you'll have someone coach you step by step to make sure you don't get off track of doing that. So, yes, I think you could sell something you may not believe in, and maybe you may not care about the customer. You can still sell, but I think it's the wrong kind of selling, not professional selling, and I think eventually that'll catch up with you. But if you're in for the short haul, you probably can sell something like that. But if you're going to be a professional of this, then you definitely want to believe in what you're selling, your product or service, and you want to have some good skills to go along with that to give you every advantage possible to communicate that to your prospect without being pushy or aggressive so they can make an intelligent decision.
Well, and one of the things that we emphasize heavily in Success Tracks in the coaching program is that it's important to have your own integrity in order to build confidence in yourself as well. And one of the things I personally have found is when I don't 100% believe in the truth, the honesty of what I'm selling, that I could make the sale or not make the sale, I still don't feel good about myself, and it undermines my own confidence.
That's true. And most of the time, the prospect can pick up on that. You know, there's a such thing as vibrations or whatever you want to call it. But when you're doing a presentation and you don't really believe in what you're doing, many, many times the prospect can pick up on that. If you are really slick and you know your presentation backwards and forwards and it's been a proven model, I guess you could sell somebody, you know, something where you still had those bad vibes. But in most cases, the prospect can pick up on that. And that's why a lot of times I think sales could walk out of a presentation scratching their head saying, gee, I did all the things they taught me to do. They were thinking about themselves, thinking about the money. They were not focused on the prospect. They didn't care about the prospect. They only cared about making the sale. And somehow the prospect picked up on that. And no matter how logical the presentation was, the prospect didn't feel good about it and killed the deal.
Interesting. So when I was taking training from you, one of the things I noticed is that you have just some little nuggets that I found so powerful and I still use. And I'm wondering if I could ask you to share a couple of those with the group.
Okay, of course you can.
So the first is a technique that you call an easy exit. So what is an easy exit? And maybe you could give us an example.
Well, the best way to explain to you what it is that when I sold door to door, I noticed what we've been talking about, Andrew, that the more I tried to push things on people, the more they backed off. And over time, and I don't know if I picked it up on a bunch of people or I figured it out on my own or a combination, probably a combination, but over time, I realized that the more I allowed people to say no, or the more I allowed people to get off the hook, or the more I took away the pressure from the sales presentation, the more they said yes. And I said, wow. So when I push it and try to be manipulative and try to sell it, they back away. But when I back away and basically let them know it's okay to say no and encourage them to say no, and even sometimes take it away from them, then I find that they were drawn to it. I think it goes back to the trust and credibility we were talking about earlier, is because people feel that you're not pressuring me, so therefore my trust level just went up a notch or two.
So could you give us an example?
For example, if I'm trying to sell you something, Andrew, I might say, Andrew, I have a coaching program, and the program is designed to teach you how to be a professional coach. It's going to take you a year to go through the program, and when you finish the program, if you learn all the skills, you can generate an additional income stream from coaching people, and you can probably improve the business that you're in. I'm not sure it would appeal to you. You might like the program, you might not. Tell you what, I'll give you a sample coaching call so you can check it out and decide for yourself. Fair enough?
So it's the easy exit part is that you might like it, you might not?
Yep. In that case, in that example, yeah, the easy exit, you might like it, you might not. That takes pressure. As opposed to saying, Andrew, you would be a perfect coach. You're going to love this. Oh, you know, I've known you for years. When you went through my training program, I knew right then that you had what it took to be a great coach. You can make a lot of money at this. You got to look at this thing because it's going to give you the skills to really be great at it. The more I sell it, the more I don't give you an easy exit, the more likely you are to say, well, yeah, Hilton, I'll take a look at it sometime, and then you avoid me like the plague. But if I say, Andrew, I'm doing something now that you might like, you might not, you know, if you got a minute, I'd be glad to tell you about it. And by the way, Andrew, after you look at this program, after you go through a little coaching session with me, if you're not absolutely delighted with it, I'll have no hard feelings whatsoever. In fact, I would recommend you not do it if you didn't feel very comfortable about it. What am I doing now? I'm allowing you an easy exit. I'm allowing you an easy way out so that you don't have to feel that when you get into a presentation with me that I'm going to push it on you. So if you don't feel that you're going to hear a pitch, if you don't feel like you're going to be manipulated, if you feel that it's easy to say no to me and it's not going to hurt my feelings, then all the pressure's off. So I am constantly, when I'm prospecting and presenting to people, letting them know it's okay to say no. In some cases, I'll say no for you. Letting them know no is a perfectly logical answer. You might like it, you might not. You can take it or leave it. You can accept it or reject it as you see fit. I would advise you not to do this if you were not completely thrilled about it. I'm always reminding you that you have a right to say no and that I'm a big boy, and it's my job to present it to you and let you make the decision. Either way, I'm going to have no hard feelings. In fact, if you look, sometimes when you get these sales letters in the mail, you'll see a lot of times they use easy exits. They'll end the letter by saying, take a look at this program and then go to the seminar, and if you're not delighted, by 12 o'clock you get all your money back. No hard feelings, no questions asked. That is an easy exit. It takes the pressure off the presentation by allowing people to say no and letting them know it's okay to say no at any time without any penalties.
And the primary time to use it is before you approach a client or prospect and ask something of them?
The best time to use easy exit is in the very beginning of your prospecting call, if you're prospecting, or in the first communication you have with your prospect, is to let them know that. And then all throughout your presentation, let them know that. If I make a prospecting call, it might go something like this. Andrew, if I could show you a way that you could generate an additional income stream working out of your home, utilizing the skill that you already have, would you be receptive to taking a look at it? Now, that's a qualifying question. So if you say, yes, I would, and I say, well, with your permission, which is a buffer, we'll talk about in a minute, I might say, with your permission, Andrew, I'll set up a time when we get together for about 20 minutes, and I'll explain the whole program to you and give you a sample. And if you like it, we can go to the next step. And if not, Andrew, I'll have no hard feelings whatsoever. That'll be the end of the conversation. Does that work for you, Andrew?
Okay, so you've really made it easy and gentle on me.
Really made it easy. I'm only asking a question. Do you have an interest? If you do, I'll go to the next step in that and offer to get together with you or give you a demonstration or a presentation with your permission, of course. And then I'll say, when I finish, and my favorite line in this is, if you like what you see or if you like what you hear, we can discuss the next step. See, very, very easy. We can discuss. I'm not saying you'll want to go forward. I'm saying if you like what you hear, we'll discuss the next step. And if you don't like it for any reason, hey, no hard feelings, Andrew. That's entirely up to you. Is that fair? What are you going to say? No, it's not fair? You're going to say, of course that's fair. And I'm going to say, well, fine, let's get together. So I make it real easy for my prospects to say no. My attitude is, and all the coaching that we do here at our company, we coach people in sales, and when they have a professional practice, whatever, and they're talking, trying to get a client or trying to get somebody in their business, whatever, we always emphasize, make it easy for them to say no. Let them know there's no hard feelings, and they'll say yes more often because there's no pressure. They'll open their minds more.
The other side of it is you won't end up with somebody who is there only out of a sense of obligation, and it really isn't an ideal client anyway.
Yeah, that happens in network marketing a lot. They'll recruit people, their friends or whatever, and they'll do it out of sheer enthusiasm. And a lot of times people will, I guess, get in that business just because, get you off my back kind of thing. Or maybe they might manipulate them or whatever somehow. But they get a person in the business, and then they end up being whiners, and they end up being a waste of time. And, again, they shoot themselves in the foot by doing that. So when you make a sale and you do it professionally, you do it naturally, you do it built around honoring your prospect, you not only make the sale, you build a relationship that multiplies in the referrals, repeat business. They'll come back to you and buy more things from you, and they wouldn't think about doing business with anybody else. And over a lifetime, you make a lot of money off that one sale when you do it right to begin with. That's why I said earlier that, yes, you can learn a good, solid presentation and make a sale, even if you don't care about the customer, the prospect, or the product you're selling. But you won't build a lifelong relationship. Whereas professional selling today is you give a presentation in such a way and you make it so non-threatening, so warm and friendly, so easy on the prospect that when they do business with you, they wouldn't think about going to your competitor or anybody else, even in your company. They always insist on doing business with you. That's the ultimate way to give a presentation, in my view.
Well, and that's got a lot to do with presenting it in such a way that the person lets down their defenses and will actually, if my new age term would be to open their heart to you, but to actually be willing to tell you the truth and tell you exactly what's going on for them in such a way that you can really work as a team to solve their problem.
Well, that's why I said earlier, coaching and selling go hand in hand. I tell people that are in sales, I say, you'll probably make a good coach with the right training because if you're giving a professional presentation focused on the prospect, that's what coaching is. And I tell professional coaches and consultants, you'd probably make a good salesperson because you know good coaching is built on the client's agenda. It's built on what's good for the person you're consulting with or coaching with, and that's what good selling is. So if you're good at one, you'll probably be good at both of them.
Hilton, you must have known what I was thinking about the three. I made a note of the three biggest things that I felt that I learned through my sales training with easy exits was one, and you mentioned the second one, which was buffers. So what's the purpose of a buffer, and maybe you could give us some examples of that?
Well, when you do a lot of door-to-door selling, as I did for off and on 14 years, you do experience a lot of rejection, especially the first few years when you really don't know what you're doing. And obviously, over the years, back then I had many doors slammed in my faces, and a lot of rejection back then. And I don't even know how I survived all that, frankly. But I guess I didn't want to go back and work in a cotton mill in my hometown in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. So I kind of stayed with it because I had nowhere else to go. But I went through a lot of rejection, and the only way I was able to survive was to come up with ways to diffuse resistance before it came up. And again, like the easy exits, I don't know where they came from, if I invented these or learned them from people. I'm sure over the years I've studied other people that were good at this, but basically I learned that certain things you could say or certain phrases you could use would cause people to relax, and it would make you come across as non-threatening, more sincere, which it has to be genuine now, but it makes you come across that way. So I hear people make this mistake often. They'll say, well, Miss Prospect, what I'd like to do now is show my program to you. And the truth is, the prospect does not care what you would like to do, because they know you'd like to make money off of them. They know you'd like to make a commission. They know you have your own agenda.
That can bring up their resistance.
Now they have the resistance. They have what I call that invisible wall there. Very difficult to break that down. That they're feeling like, okay, it's your opinion. You're pushing it on me. What you want me to do, yeah, you want me to spend some money. Already the resistance is building, you see. And once that happens, man, your presentation goes downhill. So I learned that instead of saying what I'd like to do, is I would start giving the prospect more, control by saying, with your permission, I'll show my program to you. Now the prospect has got to be thinking, hey, I like that. It's up to me. It's not being pushed on me. It's not what he thinks is important, what I think is important. Or I might say, may I make a suggestion, Miss Prospect? Yes, you may. May I suggest you take a look at the program, and then you can decide yes or no. Either way, no hard feelings. There's my easy exit. So by saying things like, with your permission, if it's okay with you, if it's all right with you, I wouldn't want you to do something you felt uncomfortable with. Please stop me if any part of this makes you feel uncomfortable. And I used that a lot many years ago when I was doing door-to-door sales. Just before I would do my presentation, when I got to a point I'd do my presentation, I found myself saying this often. I'd say, folks, as I show my program to you, if there's any part of this that you feel the least bit uncomfortable, please stop me, because I wouldn't want you to feel uncomfortable with any part of this. If that happens, you let me know, and, hey, I'm out of here. No hard feelings whatsoever. Would you do that for me, please? And they'd go, yeah, sure. Doesn't that sound a lot better, Andrew, than saying, folks, I'm about to show my program to you, and you're going to love it. You're going to see just why I am so excited. You hear the difference?
Absolutely. And what's interesting about the buffers is they're just, the word is an excellent description of what they are. They just soften the blow in such a way that it avoids the other person getting their resistance up.
You're right, and that's where the name came from. But it just buffers the language. It buffers the question. And by the way, there are all kind of ways to use buffers. We sell in our Selling by Attraction program, and another way to use buffers is when you get resistance. When people give you objections, or they give you, or they say something negative or whatever, rather than reacting and trying to fight them and getting an argument with them, you buffer it, by saying, I can appreciate the way you feel. If somebody says, well, hey, your price is very high, your price is way too high, instead of coming back and saying, oh, but look at what you get. Let me build the value here, blah, 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 blah. I'll come back and say, hey, you know something? I appreciate what you feel. How you feel about that. The price does seem high. If it's okay with you, I'll explain why the price, is what it is. May I do that? I just keep buffering. And if they say, well, maybe, I say, well, listen, I hear a little hesitation. If you want me to present this, that the last thing I want to do is show something to you where you don't want to see it. Tell me, you point to that door, I'm out of here. I don't want to do anything that you feel the least bit uncomfortable. I absolutely am not going to pressure you, push anything on you, try to talk you into anything. You're in control. If you like it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. No hard feelings. What do you folks want to do? And they always say, okay, because there's no pressure, They know they can say no. You are coming across to them as a sincere person that is leaving them in control. And maybe that's the key, Andrew, is that whatever you do in a presentation, make sure the prospect feels that they are in control every minute. And when you're running your mouth and you're bragging and you're jumping up, down, and you're excited and you're talking about how great it is, the prospect does not feel that they are in control.
Mm-hmm. I remember very clearly when you taught me about buffers. There's just so many of them that after a while they become a sort of a way of speaking. Don't take my word for it.
I can appreciate that.
Sorry?
I can appreciate that.
Yes, there you go. They came into my vocabulary. I don't know whether this will work for you or not, but is it okay if I show it to you?
Yeah.
And pieces like that, and it makes it so much easier for people to hear.
It's even better to take the butt out of there. I don't know if this will work for you or not. With your permission, I'll show it to you. Or, would you like to see it? May I show it to you? It still sounds like you're kind of begging a little bit. So I think it's even better to kick that up a notch, Andrew, an example you just gave, and say, you may like this, you may not. And if you folks would like, I'll be glad to show the program to you, and you can decide what you want to do. Would you like to see it? See, that gives total control to the prospect.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, I just need to remind you of the stuff you already know, Anthony.
That's right.
That'll teach you to use buffers on me.
Yeah, exactly. The third thing that I made in terms of the really big piece I got from you was the basic qualifying question. And it seems like we spend so much time, salespeople spend so much time sometimes pursuing and putting in work where there will be no return on investment. So what is the basic qualifying question? Can you talk about that?
It's probably the most important question you'll ever ask prospecting or giving a presentation. And it's the most difficult thing for people because it sounds like it's gutsy. And it is maybe a little gutsy. It sounds like it's stronger than it really is. It's just a natural question. I was thinking before we did this interview, Andrew, if you were to ask me what is the single most important thing a person would have to know to be good at selling, I can think of many things, half a dozen very, very important things, but maybe the top of the list would be the basic qualifying question. It is a question that you ask very early, especially in the prospecting call. I like to do it within the first 15 seconds of the call, that you ask that will determine whether you have a potential prospect or not. And if so, you would go to the next step, ask more qualifying questions, and as long as you're getting the right feedback, you can continue with the prospect's permission. It's the first key question that lets you know if this person is worthy of your time or not. It's the first question that you ask that indicates whether you're going to waste your time and waste their time or not. And in its purest form, it is a question that will actually close the deal before you give the presentation at its ultimate level. I'm sure you want to hear some examples of this, right?
Absolutely.
When I was in real estate training, I was in real estate for a dozen years, and I was known as the listing machine. I would teach people how to get listings. And when I would call up people that were trying to sell their own property and I was trying to get into their door to give a presentation, I would ask a question like this. After I introduce myself, I might say, hello, Mr. Jones, my name is Hilton Johnson. I'm with ABC Realty. And may I ask you a quick question? That always got their attention. They'd say, yeah. And I'd say, if I had a buyer that was very serious and qualified, willing to pay a price agreeable with you, would you be willing to accept such an offer through my firm? Now, that's my basic qualifying question. Now, if they say, well, yeah, I'd say, well, may I make a suggestion? Let's set a time to get together and look at your home so I can tell potential buyers about it. What's a good time to do that? And I'd get in the door. If they'd say no to the question, I'd say, no problem, which was my buffer. I'd say, no problem. Do you mind if I ask why you say that? And then sometimes they'd come back and they'd say, well, I don't want to pay a commission. And I'd say, well, I can understand that. Let me ask you this. If I can show you, here's another basic qualifying question, if I can show you a way to sell your home, and even after the commission you get what you want, would you consider working with me? And they'd go, well, as long as I got what I wanted after your commission, yeah. I'd say, well, may I make a suggestion? Let's set a time to get together, look at your home, and so I can tell potential buyers about it and explain how that works. How does that sound to you, sir? Okay, come on over. So they were qualifying questions which told me if I had a good one or not. Now, if I had a buyer very serious and qualified, willing to pay a price acceptable to you, would you accept an offer through my firm? If the guy says, no, I would not, and I say, oh, that's no problem. You mind if I ask why? He says, well, I just don't want to work with real estate people. Don't want to do that. I'd say, no problem. I wouldn't know unless I asked. Thank you for your time and courtesy. But I didn't waste any time.
Right.
So in every type of prospecting call, I always ask a basic qualifying question. When I was first looking at the network marketing industry, I didn't know anything about network marketing or the industry 5.5 years ago, and I was trying to get companies to take a look at our program after I discovered what we had was good for them. And make a long story short, I had discovered this vice president of marketing with a company, a guy named Steve Spaulding with a company called OxyFresh, for you network marketers that may know them. And so I was asking around saying, who is the guy in charge of sales training with the company? They said, well, you don't want to talk to Steve Spaulding. So I called up Steve one day and I got him on the phone. Luckily got him on the phone, and I said, Mr. Spaulding, you don't know me. My name is Hilton Johnson. I'm a sales coach, and may I ask you a quick question? He said, shoot. And I said, if I can show you a way that your company can get more production out of your people by training them on some low-level sales skills, would you be open to taking a look at it? And he came back and he said, I'd have to be a complete idiot to say no to a question like that. And I said, Mr. Spaulding, that's exactly why I ask it just that way. And he laughed, and we've been friends ever since. And he opened the door for me to the president of the company, Richard Brook, who opened the door for me to John Milton Fogg, who is the network marketers know, is a legend in this industry. And John Milton Fogg opened the door for me to all types, to the whole industry, by putting me on stage at what he called a master's event. And it all goes back to that basic qualifying question. Now, had I called Steve Spaulding up and said, Mr. Spaulding, I'm a sales trainer, I'm a sales coach, I've got a great program, and I tell you what, people need what I've got, and you're going to love this stuff, he would have said, I hear this stuff 10 times a day. Get out of my face. Don't ever call me again. But it was an irresistible qualifying question that told him and told me we need to go a little bit further and take another look. So I always begin a prospecting call. I always begin a demonstration. I always begin a coaching call. I always begin a training program, and I always begin a presentation with a very powerful, very strong qualifying question before I begin, so I know what I've got, so I know if I should continue or not. And I have no problem with hearing no. I have no problem with hearing yes. But I want to hear one or the other in the beginning to see if I really do have a prospect, if I really do have a chance. I'm fine either way. That's how easy I to myself. I'm fine either way, but I want to know what I've got. And what amazes me, Andrew, is that I've taught this question for many years, and people, they nod their head, as some of your listeners right now, they're nodding their head, say, this is good stuff. I'm going to use this. Boy, that makes sense. And then they go out and they chicken out because it is a gutsy kind of question. But it's a necessary question. And in my view, it's the most important skill to learn. It's the most important thing to do, by far the most important question to ask in any kind of selling situation. And a prospecting call, find out if they're interested or not with that kind of question. If I can do something of value to you, will you do something for me? And that is look at my program or be interested or be happy or whatever. And then before you do your presentation, say, folks, if I can show you a program that completely meets your needs, will you go forward on it? Find out. Close it up front. Later, a guy named David Sandler wrote about this in a book called You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bicycle at a Seminar. For years, I'm doing seminars around the country. People kept saying, were you trained by David Sandler? I said, no, I don't know the guy. I keep hearing his name. I don't know the guy. So I finally, when he came out with a book, I read the book, and I said, Viola, this guy here did door-to-door sales in cookware like I did, selling encyclopedias. We've been to the same University of Hard Knocks. We learned a lot of the same things the same way, and he called this a contract up front. Before he gave a presentation, he would always ask a qualifying question to find out, are you ready to do business if what I have here is to your satisfaction? I call it a basic qualifying question. He calls it a contract up front. Call it whatever you like. It's the most important thing you'll ever do if you want to be good at selling. If nothing else, to just save time from wasting that time with all these people that are unmotivated, illogical, irrational, and don't have two nickels rubbed together. You need to find out early in the game, if you've got one like that, And in a nice way, if they are like that, you gently, very gracefully, very warmly, and very friendly disqualify them and leave. Say something like, folks, based on what I'm hearing, I don't think this is for you, but thank you for your time and courtesy. Any questions before I leave? You just gently disqualify that person and go.
Well, it's interesting you say this because I was trained by Xerox in the mid-'80s, and at that point they had probably the best sales training that there was. And if my sales manager or sales trainer ever saw me do a demonstration of a machine without doing what you call a basic qualifying question in advance, if you here's the things that you said were important. If you see this and this and this and this, will you buy today? Or, would you go to the next step with us, or whatever it was? If I didn't do that, I would have been fired. It's so important.
You should have been. And if anybody listening to this message were working for me, and as a salesperson in either of my two companies, you better believe that I would monitor to make sure that before you do a presentation, especially on the prospecting call, that you ask a basic qualifying question. And once you've done it a few times and you're comfortable with it, you'll never leave it. You'll never do without it again.
So let's talk about that a little bit. The first time you call somebody, let's say you're planning to call somebody to have a list, get a home listing or whatever, would you have in mind, would you prepare and write out what your basic qualifying question is? You don't just make that up on the fly, right?
Oh, no, I write these out. What I have done over the years is I have collected good questions, and I write them on 3x5 cards, and I basically memorize the questions. So if you want to use a canned pitch, all you need are the canned questions. The questions are the key. And then once you get in front of a prospect, forget about it. Your mind will take over, and your natural personality will help you to ask the question in a very conversational way. So I memorize my questions, and sometimes I ask them word perfect. Sometimes I improvise on them, but I always ask the question. So I'm a big believer in collecting key questions at key parts of a presentation, and then using those questions to take you to the next step of your presentation, or to build a yes momentum, or to get good feedback, and especially to get the prospect doing the talking and developing that relationship with you with those good questions. So, yeah, I study the questions, and anybody on this call that wants to get good at selling, if you don't already have some good questions, that's the thing to learn. Good questions, and in what order would you ask these? And if you master questions, you'll be all right. I have a program that I sell on the network market called The Magic and Power of Questions. It's a little program I sell for $59 that teaches people the basic skills of asking questions in any kind of presentation.
Well, I guess that's the point I'm driving at, is that so many people think that selling is just going out there and doing it, but the truth is that it is a waste of an opportunity to ever go out there and enter into a presentation until you have a plan and you have the tools in place that you're going to use to maximize the opportunity.
Well, I asked a friend one time, I said, what do people really want in this business? He said, what people want are 100% qualified people running towards them with the money in their hands saying, I'll buy. He said, but what they really need is training. And truer words were never spoken. Never, ever. Every time I've ever tried to wing it, Andrew, in selling, I've always fallen flat on my face. I look back at the 3 or 4 times I've had significant success over the last 40 years in sales. I've always had a planned presentation. Not a word-for-word script, but I've always had a formula. I knew exactly what I was going to do, when I was going to do it, and I stayed on track. And when you do it that way, you do it over and over and over, it's just like a Broadway play. You get real good at it over and over and over, and it's all natural at the same time.
Mm-hmm. One other thing that you taught me was that there's 4 possible outcomes from any sales encounter, and some are better than others. Can you just touch on that?
Well, 2 things are bad and 2 things are good. One thing that can happen is you get to the end of your presentation, the prospect says, no, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole, so no sale. The other thing that can happen is the prospect says, well, I want to think about it, and we get that often. And we don't have time to go into how you would convert a continuation in from that, but there are the 2 negative things that can happen. The 2 good things that can happen is that person says, I like this, sign me up, I'm buying. Or the other thing is that people don't understand is that they don't have enough information to make an intelligent decision. They need more information. And if you know how to do this, you can do what is called an advance. You can advance them to the next step. It could be another presentation. It could be more information. It could be the same presentation with somebody else. It could be whatever. Anything that causes the person to take action, where they will take action, not just thinking it over. You can advance it. major sales, big sales, like selling big-time multi-million-dollar jet airplanes, don't happen in one presentation. You advance it one presentation to the next, to a meeting, to a conference, to a consultation. It just keeps advancing. So that's the thing people need to learn, is that when you get to the end of your presentation, the outcomes you want is either make the sale on the spot or advance it to the next logical step so that you keep it alive.
Well, and that was the lesson that I learned from you, is that how important it is to get in advance, which is basically getting the customer to commit to doing some next step beyond just thinking about it. And that the difference between a continuation, which is a failure in terms of the sales process, and an advance is that step of getting commitment, and they're very, very different in terms of outcome.
That is correct, sir.
Let's talk briefly about network marketing, which I know you mentioned you've been at it for 5.5 years, and it just seems that so many people are very resistant to network marketing, and others totally embrace it. Why are people resistant?
Because the industry itself has shot themselves in the foot. I've said that 3 times about shooting yourself in the foot, and they have. People are so negative against selling that it's almost like the last thing in the world you'd want to admit in network marketing is that I'm a salesperson. The reality is everybody in network marketing is selling. They may not know it, but they are. It's called the direct sales industry. It's selling. And the reason it's so difficult for a lot of people is, A, they don't admit they are in sales, so they don't learn the skills necessary to do it. B, they present the business to other people and say, you don't have to know anything about selling, because we've got a system that you can follow to be successful, which is a lie in a lot of cases. And so people get in the business and realize because they don't have the skills of selling, they fall flat on their face. I think a much better approach today would be to say, hey, if you're in network marketing, you're in sales, but there's a way you can do this that's not pushy or aggressive, that you feel completely comfortable. May I show you how? And then I think people will be just as receptive, and then they know they're in selling, and they know that they improve their skills on it. I think it can help change the industry. So I think the negative perception is because of people, the way they present it. They go out with sheer enthusiasm. They are sold, in a lot of cases, a bill of goods that the company have a system that's going to do it for you automatically. The truth is, I don't care how good the company is, how great their website is, how wonderful the products are. Somewhere along the line, you got to talk to somebody. And when you talk to somebody, that is selling. But there's a way to do it where you're very comfortable, you're not threatening, you feel very confident about it, and you'll have good results with it. So I think what the industry needs, and this reason they've embraced us, is because people in network marketing need to learn how to present themselves as professional salespeople, whatever you want to call it. That's what they need.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because one of the things I hear over and over again in network marketing is people struggling and saying it's a lot harder work than they thought it would be. And you really nailed it there when you said, at some point, if you're going to advance your business and have people either get involved or buy products, you're going to have to talk to somebody about your product and service.
Well, as you know, Andrew, we have a coaching program for people in network marketing. By the way, we give a free 30-minute demonstration of it for anybody interested. And the very thing we do is we don't try to compete with the company's compensation plans or their products or their formulas or their tools. They're great. What we do is we show people how to communicate, how to generate qualified leads, how to make prospecting calls without wasting your time, how to give presentations in a variety of different ways, and how to keep track of all that and create a business system so that you know exactly what works for you, what doesn't work, so that there's no guesswork of how to build a network marketing business through learning some low-level, low-key sales skills that anybody can do, pretty much anybody can do, if you're already in that business and you're willing to take the time to learn them. So we believe that that's what's missing in the industry, and that's why we have a program called Business Coaching for Network Marketers to show them how to create a business plan for doing this business, which is largely based on how to make prospecting calls, how to generate leads, how to respond to people, how to use the language of prospecting, presenting, and follow-up is what it's all about.
No, and that's actually coaching, and you also do training programs as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, the coaching program, and for those anybody interested, it's in network marketing. If you'd like, you can contact my company in a couple of ways, and I would have one of our professional coaches give you a 30-minute free coaching session, and in that one session alone, worth $150, you'll see how you can improve your communication skills and how you can generate leads and how you can organize your business better. It's a free coaching call as we have introducing you to our business coaching program. But yes, and I have a training program for those of you that are in sales and you would like to maybe become a coach and earn an additional income stream, or maybe use that to help your business, I do have a program called Coach Trainer, and it's a one-year training program on how you can become a professional coach, and we'll give you a free coaching session, actually coach you for real for 30 minutes to do that. May I give out my website? And
absolutely. I just know that some of our members you're going to be inundated with requests for free coaching sessions, I can assure you. So tell us how to contact you.
Well, if you are in network marketing and you'd like to have a free 30-minute coaching call about your network marketing business, go to my website at www.mlmu, the letter U, like university.com, mlmu.com, and you'll see right on the front page, free coaching call. You can click there and sign right up.
And there's all your other products and classes and everything are listed.
The Selling by Attraction program for network marketers is there. The Magic and Power questions. A lot of free stuff is there. I've got a program that'll write prospecting scripts for you in real time for free. There are a lot of stuff there for free. For those of you that would be interested in being a coach, go to www.coachtrainer.com, and you can sign up right there for a free 30-minute coaching demonstration. We'll show you how you can be a coach and how you market yourself and build a full practice. And if there's anyone on the call that's in sales, or if you have a professional practice, such as you're a therapist, you're a dentist, you are a consultant, you are a professional coach, you're a doctor, you're an attorney, where you have a practice, and you would like to learn some sales and marketing ways to get your business on track or jumpstart your business, I do have a program where we can assign to you a professional sales and marketing coach that will stay with you for a year and walk you through how you can increase your business. And you'll learn the things I'm doing now, but in addition to the training, you'll actually get coaching to make sure you stay on track, and you can build a business plan specific to you. So that's the things we offer. And here's my office phone number. If you have any questions about this, or you want a free coaching call or whatever, you can give us a call, and that number is area code 954-491-8996.
So they can get you at that number, or they can contact you and get the information off the web as well.
Absolutely.
Well, Success Tracks members, there's the challenge. I strongly encourage you to take a look at Hilton Johnson's services. I think that the importance of training, which really, Hilton, you've mentioned over and over again, it just can't be understated for salespeople. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
It's been my pleasure, Andrew.
Well, on behalf of Peak Potentials and all of our Success Tracks members, I really want to tell you how much I enjoyed this call, and we really appreciate your generous sharing of your time. I hope you got a lot of people taking advantage of your offer to give a half-hour coaching session. And Success Tracks members, this is Andrew Barber-Starkey saying goodbye for now, and I look forward to bringing you another Mastermind presentation next month.